Hi, my name's Andrew McLaren, and I want to show you how ChatGPT can be very useful in problems like this. We've got rotational motion here. They're describing it using these formulas that have like radians built into them. It's kind of complicated and hard to imagine. And the key to this problem from OpenStax was actually incorrect. I assumed it was correct, and so when I actually did this question the first time, I thought that ChatGPT got it wrong. So it did actually plot out the trajectory of this object, and it is not circular, though the key said that it was. And when I plotted out just like the first data point, like assuming that t is 0, I was able to see like, oh, okay, well, if I've got this point here, I can see the radius of how it's going to end up rotating around. I've got this point here, I can see the radius of how that's rotating around. So it made sense that both of those are rotating as circles. And then their center of mass is just along the line that's right here. So if these two were to rotate together, then that center of mass also rotates in a circle. I like to think of it like if you were standing on like a merry-go-round and your friend is also standing on the merry-go-round and you're holding a string between the two of you, that midpoint of that string would be your center of mass as a system of those two people. So as long as you're both rotating with that merry-go-round, that center of that string also rotates in circular motion. But the problem here is that these two objects are rotating not together. So if we go back and look at this question, one of them is having rotation of 2t and the other one of 3t. So one's going faster than the other one. Um, I believe that the this must have been something that was made different from one example problem and then another example problem, and that difference didn't get caught. So the radii, I totally was able to do that, able to think about the center of mass in terms of that first moment in time, but it's a little bit more complicated later on. And this does not actually move at the exact same frequency. So coming back, that question, yeah, there's like 2 or 3 radians per second. So if one's going faster than the other one, it's going to have a center of mass that's not quite moving in a circular pattern, but that pattern that we looked at earlier. So it kind of wobbles as you can imagine. If these two things are moving at the same frequency, it would be a circle. But this is the power of ChatGPT. It's able to also just plot out some points and do a ton of them all at once. So a human, it would take quite a long time to plot out like at least 4 or 5 points. Um, I think would be necessary to see that this isn't a perfect circular motion. This just like plots them all out and is able to show you, no, that's not going to be circular. There's going to be this weird like kind of loop-de-loop shape, which does make sense to me in hindsight. So yeah, ChatGPT, don't rely on it solely, but it is a useful tool. And remember, sometimes your keys can be wrong as well. So check your intuition and don't assume that ChatGPT is wrong just because it got something different from the key. But also, we have to be careful because it can do some fairly complicated things, but fails at basics as well.